It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast as we stream right around Australia with the latest movement shaping the real estate property market, from Darwin to Canberra and all of those regional hotspots in between. Yes, the regional areas, they are not slowing down anytime soon. And good morning, wherever you might be listening to us from across Australia. You might be overseas and part of that growing expat audience. If you are, welcome along. It is a Thursday morning, August the 6th today. Happy birthday if you're a year older. And it's happy birthday to John Jarratt, the Australian actor, best known for Wolf Creek. He is turning 74 today. Got to say, I have seen that movie a couple of times and it has scared me on both occasions. A very scary original, that's what I'm talking about, the original Wolf Creek. Also, something that is scary, Australia's housing market is entering a new phase, with the latest data showing the downturn is spreading well beyond Sydney and Melbourne. National property values, they fell 0.7% in July. That is the biggest monthly decline since late 2022. Cotality tells us that Brisbane and Adelaide have now recorded back-to-back monthly falls. Meanwhile, Perth and Darwin, they continue to buck the trend, proving that local property market conditions still matter more than the national headlines do. Well, let's take you to one of those locations, I think, that is still holding its ground. Let's go to Alex Fleri. He is on the Gold Coast. And a very good morning to you, Alex. Welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast. The national property values, as I said, 0.7%. They have gone back in July. That is the biggest monthly decline since 2022. But the Gold Coast has moved the other way. In fact, PropTrack data shows that values edged higher again, reinforcing just how resilient the lifestyle market has become despite higher interest rates.
Isn't it great, Craig? We are the little engine that could here on the Gold Coast. We keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and we were so underrated and undervalued for so many years, and now we are the envy of the real estate world.
You know, as I said, Cotality is reporting Brisbane has recorded that back-to-back fall. What does that mean for somebody like Alex there on the Gold Coast? Do you look at Brisbane and rub your hands together and say, okay, yeah, bring it on?
Look, we do. I mean, the Gold Coast still has high demand for migrants coming interstate, and even locals moving in from further afield coming into town. So even Brisbaneites looking to work the city of Brisbane, but live the lifestyle of the Gold Coast. And you said lifestyle at the beginning. You can't replace the Gold Coast lifestyle, not by a long shot.
What is that sort of buyer inquiry like at the moment, you know, from people in Brisbane saying, well, yep, let's look at the Gold Coast, let's get that lifestyle happening?
Absolutely. It's very strong at the moment. We have more local and Queensland buyer inquiries than we do interstate at the moment. I think a lot of that is just to do with negative sentiment interstate, whereas Brisbaneites and locals here, fairly buoyant. We don't have the misery of the weather down south. We have some great weather here and it's getting people out and about.
Yeah, it seems a sort of a similar picture with Melbourne. Like Melbourne has sort of dried up with that interstate buying, similar to what you've just said, but regionally it still seems to be pretty popular. In fact, buyer competition, it has eased compared to the frenzy on the Gold Coast of recent years, and it is creating better opportunities to negotiate. But with sellers, they seem to be holding firm. It's a story around the country at the moment. The window is open, you know, for business, for buyers, but it may not stay open for, you know, much longer if demand starts building again.
Well, you have to remember on the Gold Coast during COVID, we had a lot of interstate cash come up. So there were more buyers who were cash buyers without mortgage, more retirees, more people coming back from overseas, expats retiring back to the coast, selling up overseas and bringing their cash here. So one of the strong factors we have on the coast is the low level of mortgages against every property. Whereas cast your mind back, say, 10 years ago, and we were one of the mortgage default centres of Australia, and that's all changed. That whole demographic has changed. So there's no real underlying pressure on the market en masse. That's not to say individual pressure isn't there here and there, but that individual pressure isn't translating into massive discounts like the GFC or anything like that.
Something that has just sort of gone through my mind as I'm talking to you, we do a lot of reporting on Dubai, the UAE, and what is happening there because so many Aussie investors are in that market with portfolios, and then you've got people leaving Australia to pick up on that lifestyle. You compare Dubai to the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast in a lot of ways is a mini Dubai. I just wonder, as a result of the Iranian conflict, have those international inquiries sort of been diverted? Are you picking up some of that traffic that would have been looking at Dubai?
I think we are, but I don't think it's international traffic that we're seeing here. I think what we're seeing is traffic that would have left the country instead of just leaving the country as an exodus, staying here instead. And talking about Dubai, there are some really heavy hitters in town at the moment from Dubai looking at commercial sites for massive unit complexes. And additionally, I spoke to one of the well-known mining families yesterday, and they were saying that the Dubai government is now considering free schooling to lure back the expats during the Iranian conflict. And he didn't think that was going to have the effect because wealthy people just can pay for their own schooling. So why go into a conflict zone if there's danger? He was picking the Gold Coast to be another hotspot because the conflict is just going to drive the expats away from there.
Yeah, so let me just clarify that one, Alex. Are you saying that there is a Dubai development company as a result of what is happening with the Iranian crisis looking towards the Gold Coast to do some development?
That is exactly what I am saying, my friend. They are here shopping around looking for mega sites right now.
Wow, that is really interesting. Is there any other sort of things that you have noticed around the whole migration phase, the UAE? I mean, that is just one location. But interestingly, the other part of the conversation is you're saying that people have just decided to stay put. Like there's a lot of volatility going on, not just with the geopolitics, but also the cost of living. I mean, that is right across the board, right around the world.
Look, it is. And I think the lure of Dubai was always this kind of a safe haven. It always had this kind of tax-free benefit and this kind of, wealth built into their lifestyle. Wealthy people are wealthy wherever they are in the world. So it doesn't really necessarily make for a great sale. The tax-free comes at a cost of being in a bit of a danger zone at the moment. So people will kind of put that to the back burner just for the time being. And of course, as I said before, the Gold Coast is a great option instead of Dubai because, as you said, it has a very similar lifestyle vibe. And so people are looking at those options and saying, well, okay, tax is tax, but safety comes first. Do we really want to be in such a dangerous environment right now? Or do we want safety first for our family?
Yeah, we would love to hear from you. If you are an investor into Dubai, especially, let us know because it is a buyer's market at the moment and prices have come off 25-30%. You can pick some of those prices up at the moment in Dubai. Is that a market that you are eyeing up? We are talking to Alex this morning. He is on the Gold Coast. We're back with more after this.
Every morning from 6 a.m, we bring you the latest real estate news with diverse perspectives from leading industry experts. We deliver the most property podcasts across Australia every week.
Yeah, since we're talking about the Gold Coast, one of the biggest property booms on the Gold Coast began during the mid to late 1990s. Did you buy on the Gold Coast around that time? Interstate migration from Sydney and Melbourne accelerated did as buyers realised that they could sell a modest home in those cities and purchase a much larger home near the beach with plenty of money left over in the bank account, which is always nice. That migration trend, it has continued to shape the Gold Coast market for nearly 3 decades. Interesting when you look at some of the house prices too, back during the 1990s. Nerang, you could get a house in Nerang starting point at around $90,000. Ashmore, around $120K. Labrador, very nice location there on the Gold Coast, $110,000 in the 90s is what you would pay. Southport, used to live in Southport, $130,000. And Helensvale, $140,000. It is a Real Estate Thursday. We are talking to Alex on the Gold Coast. How about those prices, Alex? You would have loved buying those properties, back in the 90s?
Wouldn't you just? I think I bought my first one here in Australia in Southport in 2001, I think it was, 2002. When I stepped off the plane, I went for a drive with my wife, then partner, Victoria. I thought, this is the place for me. And I think we bought the first one sight unseen for $285,000 in one of the little back streets in Southport somewhere.
Yeah, no, great story. I mean, many people have got fond memories of missing out on all sorts of deals, and I won't go there with myself because we know that very, very sad story. One of the interesting stories which I highlighted at the top is the unit market. I mean, man, oh man, apartments are absolutely sort of just gangbusters right around the country. How have you sort of found that on the Gold Coast? Because it's very much an apartment city.
Look, we've got a lot of stock that's come on at the moment, so that's kind of softened the acceleration of prices, which I think is welcomed by all parties because sellers and buyers know what they're doing, and also developers can plan a little bit more strictly with their budgets, knowing where things are going to go. And of course, that correlates back to construction costs.
I don't think I've asked you this question around strata because all of these buildings around the Gold Coast, they have strata conditions. Some of them are pretty intense. What are these new apartments looking like, particularly around some of the luxury apartments? Because they've got all sorts of things. I think last time we spoke, you were talking about the wellness centres, all of these things, luxury top end, that developers are putting in because they know that this is the trend. But coming with that is a lot of strata terms and conditions.
Yes, and that's true. I mean, there is a value-added lifestyle for the luxury end, which then correlates to buildings where you're not allowed to do, for example, Airbnb or holiday rentals because, there's too much usage on those services. So you have to look at the buildings very carefully and what your strategy is, whether you're going to live in it, whether you don't mind co-sharing with holiday makers who might be a little bit too boisterous in the lift. There are some buildings that were also residents only, and then they have now changed. And that's also a revenue raising exercise, so they can put the fees up.
And in terms of somebody listening this morning saying, gee, what's the lowest sort of entry point could I get into on the Gold Coast for picking up something at the lower end of the market?
Look, there are some older buildings, the old 3-story walk-up brick buildings, great locations. I think one sold on Hedges Avenue for, I think, 1.1 and some change, which we all thought was incredibly good buying. That's the kind of thing you're looking for if you want to get into entry level because it has good potential for capital growth and also potential for development upside when a resale to a developer comes along. If you're looking for new, something around the 1.5 to 1.7 seems to have some good quality two-bedders with good quality services and great locations.
Yeah, you can see why some people decide to go to Dubai, not in this market perhaps, but boy, there is a lot of great buying in that luxury city of Dubai. But hey, that is the tale of the tape. Great to catch up with you on our Thursday morning. Alex, thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast and enjoy your day out there in lifestyle heaven.
Thank you, Craig. And don't forget, you can also see John Jarratt in the upcoming movie Zombie Plane.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.